Happy Friday, everybody. Good morning and welcome into the Spotlight Omaha podcast, where we take you around the city of Omaha, introduce you to local business owners, influential figures, and people who are making an impact on our community. We are brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. Pixel Fire Marketing is a locally owned marketing firm who specializes in website design, creating social media ads, and engaging your brand online today. Check out pixelfiremarketing.com for more information today. Today, I'm joined by Doug Bosse from State Farm Insurance. Doug, thanks for being here.
Absolutely, Jimmy. Thanks for having me.
I want to talk about your career into insurance and how you decided to make this your life your life investment and your basically your career going forward. 9 years ago, you get in the state in insurance. Why was it the right time to get in insurance, and what made it what you wanted to do with your life?
Sure. No, I mean at that point I was young in like my professional working career. I was in a management spot for 4 years, 8 years total with the company before doing the automotive, and it just wasn't what I wanted to do, right?
Sure.
I just wasn't happy with it. Felt like I was missing out a lot. I think I was 24, 23, 24 at the time, and I was like, I need to make a change, right? So left that industry, and then I actually wanted to get into the automotive claims side of it, right? Reached out to an agent at the time and quickly convinced me that's not the route you wanted to go. I got hired on as a team member, worked there for a total of about 2 years or so. 6 months into it, I was like, this isn't difficult, right? This is a relationship building business. Mm-hmm. I just think people need help understanding the process of insurance, and I felt like there was a big need there. So I just put my head down, grinded, figured it out.
Was the ultimate goal always to spin off on your own? I think most people, when they get into it, maybe that's the long-term goal. Were you surprised how quickly you were able to get there?
Kind of, right? I mean, the ultimate goal, no. Like when I got there, I needed a job, right?
Sure.
But once I got into the industry, I started working in that world. And I was like, yeah, no, this is something that I could absolutely see myself doing. So then, yeah, I mean, once I put my mind on something, I'm focused, I go after it. Literally, I'd say about 2.5 years, I would say.
What does that process look like when you're working under an umbrella of another company? Sure. Or working for someone?
I was working for another agent at the time.
Okay, what does that process look like when you move from that to doing your own thing?
Yeah, so really just get in and learn, right? I mean, learn the products, learn the knowledge, learn the conversation, like learn what it means, It's just a lot of just taking in and learning, right? And then it comes with more leadership, comes with more management, comes with motivation, accountability. And then once you do that, obviously you have to go through the business process, you have to go through the business plan, you have to get fully licensed, and then you get selected, right? It's a long process to get into the State Farm agent role. But one of the best decisions I've ever made.
Why was State Farm the right company to kind of put this venture into?
I love what they stand for, right? I mean, they're the largest insurance company for auto, for fire, and not a lot of people know, but we're the number one life insurance company like in the nation, right? So I wanted to be with that company. Like I wanted to stand behind what they promise, and I mean, they deliver on their promise almost every time, right? So I like the company. I love how transparent the company is. And then this direction and growth it's endless, right?
I think when we look at insurance, and maybe this is what we were talking about with in informing people and educating people on the process. When we look at life, when we look at auto, when we look at home,
sure.
Up front, it kind of looks like it's all the same thing. You're putting money in to be insured. Is it as simple as that in your mind, or do those three things kind of have standalone entities that make them very different?
I think they're all different, right? I think the biggest thing, though, is establishing like what the purpose of insurance really means and how it helps you. And I've seen, being in the world of insurance for 9 years, like I've seen both sides of it, right? I've seen the way insurance is supposed to help you when you're set up properly, you're covered properly, and then I've seen the other side where it's just a nasty road if you're not insured properly. So our really big vision and mission in our office, like we said, is to slow down that process of the conversation of what insurance really means. Have that conversation together to figure out what we need to do. Because if something happens and you got to call me to file a claim, like our big motto in our office is like, we're not going to be nervous to file a claim. We know you're taken care of, right? And the time to learn about how your insurance is set up is not during the claims process.
Right.
Like it's not, right? It's too late.
We've obviously seen a mass influx of need for insurance in the city of Omaha over the last couple of weeks. When we see, and this is almost an unprecedented time for storms and things like that, when we see the impact on the community that we've seen over the last couple of weeks or months, I should say, how does that affect your office and your day-to-day ongoings and the way you guys handle your business?
I mean, our process stays the same, right? We get busier with claims, right? That's the time for us to step up and shine, right? Is when people are when people have a simple car accident and when we'd had the tornadoes in April, right? When houses are devastated, families are basically crushed and derailed, right? That's when we step up, right? Mm-hmm. We have a dedicated claims process in our office, a person that handles all our claims. and then I oversee what's going on within the claims process as well. So it doesn't really affect our day to day, right? I mean, that's just our time to really focus in, because we kind of have, my office is kind of separated in kind of like departments, right?
Sure.
So it more so on the claim side, yes, more time, more focused, and more dedication in that direction, because that's our time to prove what we do, right? That's our time to step up, and this is who we are. This is what we preach about. So now we got to do it.
Let me ask, and this may be a weird way to word this. I just can't think of a better phrase. How much of what you do is Doug Bosse's insurance firm versus State Farm? You know what I mean? Like, how much is there separation at all? Is it all encompassing? Is there just a reflection of what State Farm is through your personal beliefs? How does that work?
So I'm a 1099 independent contractor of State Farm.
Right.
So I represent State Farm and State Farm only. We're captive, which is I prefer, right? There's pros and cons of both, but I'm a captive agent of State Farm. And the glory of it is I can run my agency around the compliance and regulations of what State Farm runs. But I pretty much have full autonomy to run my office how I want to run it.
Sure.
Right. So we do have help. We have the guidance of leadership, but if there's a direction or avenue or just some sort of challenge I want to take on, I can do it, right? So I don't really have any restrictions. There's no handcuffs. Like, I represent the company that I choose to represent is State Farm. Won't ever change that. So, but we can do however, whatever, whenever we want in our office.
You can't really turn your TV on nowadays without seeing Jake in his red shirt and his khakis, or Flo and her friends, or the Duck and who have it. How do you separate yourself in a world where there are so many insurance options and so many different agents in the Omaha area? What does Doug Bosse State Farm Insurance do to separate yourself from the competition?
Sure. Like I said, the big thing too is like with our vision is we want to slow down that process of insurance, right? I drive from my house in Elkhorn to my office. I probably pass 5 or 6 State Farm agents, right? And that doesn't even include all the other insurance companies that are within the travel. But for us, is we just want to separate ourselves within the conversation, build that deep relationship. Because if I see you in the community, like I'm involved in the community, I'm here, right? I'm going to stop, I'm going to say hi, wave, nice to meet you. Like we're a community presence, and we follow through what we say we're going to do, right? So that's our big vision, is to separate ourselves that way.
How big of a deal is it for you to be able to serve the Omaha area where you grew up?
Yeah, I love it, man. I'm born and raised here. I mean, it's neat now, like being in this business for 9 years on our own for 6. Like I'm getting called from people just for help that I haven't even seen in years. Right. So I think that's cool to reach out. So it's awesome to help the community that I live and grew up in.
You guys are located right off 108th and Center, right outside of Rockbrook. Is there any particular reason you guys decided to go with that area, and how has that area kind of been responsive to the agency? I
love it. I mean, it's an older. It's like it's a mixture of like older and younger clientele. It's just it's just a neat community culture around there. Rockbrook Shopping Center is great. They have stuff all the time. I'm right across the street, just east of Rockbrook. But no, I mean, I took over that agency from a past agent. Sure. And that's where the office was, right? Okay. So since then, we've relocated. We're still in the same building. We've just moved, doubled our square footage. But no, I just love I love that area. It's more like it's developed, it's mature. It's
really easy to get to.
Right. Where are you at? Just literally take the interstate to Center Street, and you're right there.
Yeah. When we talk about the growth of the Omaha area, and obviously Gretna is exploding right now. There's new funding going into North Omaha. South Omaha is seeing a gentrification like we've never seen before. How does that affect the way you guys are doing business? Do you like, from a sense of, we see this growth, we plan on hiring more agents, we see this growth, we hold firm with what we have. Does it pivot the way you guys are doing your day-to-day business?
Yeah, so we have expectations in our office, right? And once those are all within production goals, within team member goals, that's when I look to hire another person, right? If my staff is hitting on all cylinders, all right, perfect, hey, then I'm going to bring another person in. But until then, I'm not. But no, like fortunate now, right? The insurance business it's kind of chaotic, right? Yeah. With all the storms, I mean, you said it. Just in April, we had a tornado, we had flooding, we had a hailstorm, and then just 2 days ago,
again,
another one, right? So it's just kind of been a surreal summer in the insurance world. But no, I mean, I am actively looking to bring on another salesperson, but we're very selective on who we bring, right? We're very big on culture, a family atmosphere within our office. So not everybody's a fit, and that's okay. But we're starting to look. I'm starting to look around.
We're talking with Doug Bosse of State Farm Insurance here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. I want to bring up the aspect of hiring somebody and bringing somebody in, because your name is literally on the front door, on the sign above the building, and on every single piece of paper that gets printed out. How big of a deal is it for you to be trusting enough to it gives somebody the ability to go out and sell something that that has your name on it. Was that difficult for you at the beginning, and how has that changed over 6 years?
Yeah, 100%. At first, like one of the biggest things I learned going from like a team member role to the agent role is to kind of like step back, delegate more. Because my first 2 years
Is that tough for you?
Very hard.
Okay.
My first 2 years is very hard because again, you're right. It's my name. It's me, right?
Yeah.
But once I did that, like my team just flourished, right? But I'm very cautious of who I hire because it is my name. It's myself. It's how I represent myself, and it's not only how I represent myself in office, but it's how we represent ourselves in the community. Too,
Sure.
Right. So if you work at our office, we're very big with that. And I don't really look at your past resume, right? I don't like what you did in the past. Yeah, that makes sense. Like I need to focus on that, but I really want to see where I can take you from today and where you can go moving forward. That's more so what I look forward to.
What is something that is easier for you now in year 9 of insurance, maybe in just 6 of being a business owner, that you struggled with at the beginning? Is there something that was a hurdle for you when you first started off that is just a little more simple and day-to-day now?
I just think more of the delegation, right? Like we have our processes so in tuned. It's like we're at the point now. It's like we're just moving, we're rolling right to where now I can step out and look at other things, right, and focus on other things. So I think at the beginning, the hardest thing was just like letting go, like let the office do what it does. And ever since then, like I said, it's been the best thing. One of the hardest things, but one of the best things that I've done.
If you could go back 6 years ago and give yourself a piece of advice for something you know now that you didn't know then, what would it be? Could be anything. Could be about hiring.
Hire slow, fire fast.
Okay.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I've had great people come through my office, right? And, of course, you have some – it just doesn't work.
Right.
It's just not a fit. But those bad decisions are costly, right? It's like every business owner.
What are some of the misconceptions? Because I think everybody knows an insurance agent, everybody knows a real estate agent. There's such a need for it. There are just so many people in the industry. What are some of the misconceptions people have when they want to become an insurance agent that maybe just aren't true? Like,
it's not easy.
Yeah, sure.
It's not easy. I mean, it's a grind, right? We still grind. It doesn't matter. We're 6 years into it. Like the grind doesn't stop, right? But it's a fun grind. I think one of the biggest conceptions you see is like, oh, they're always out golfing. No, we're not. Like, I'm not. I guess I say that, right? I mean, some are. I don't know. But,
sure.
It's a grind. It's not easy. It's just like, again, you're owning your own business, right? So like you have to get this thing going. You have to put in the sweat, the equity to get it going. And like I said before, it's surrounding yourself with the right people. I see my staff more than I see my family, right?
Sure.
I'm around them all the time, and I love my staff. They're fantastic. We wouldn't be where we're at with the growth today without them. So, and you just need support for your people around you, right? I think, I think the moral of it is it's not easy. It's a grind every day.
Growth is an interesting thing because it's ever changing, right? Like we were talking yesterday with Malia and Sean Gomez about where they wanted their business to be, and now they kind of laugh at the aspirations they had and they're like, well, we can't make it if that's our goal.
Right.
Is there anything about is there a goal that you would like to see maybe 5-6 years down the road for Doug Bosse State Farm Insurance?
I just want to keep growing my staff, right? I had dreams of having multiple offices throughout Omaha. I think that's kind of more let's centralize it. Let's make one large office within what we do.
Sure.
And just keep growing my staff. I love to see the growth within my team, right? If they're growing, that means they're getting better. They're having better quality conversations, and then their life's just getting better, right? So that's really what drives me now. Again, I think my first 2 years, like I needed to get this office up and running. Okay. What drives me now is to see the growth within like my community, the growth within my team. And that is what kind of pushes me to keep going harder.
Let me ask, because you obviously you mentioned you worked under a different agent before and spun off on your own. If somebody like I feel like that would be kind of a hard conversation to have if somebody comes to you, right? Because you put all this time and investment into it. Is it as simple as that, or is it, hey, we want to see you grow? Good for you. I'll help you. Like, and maybe it's different for everybody. But what does that conversation sound like?
No, if I have a team member that wants to go off and get into an agency role, like I am 100% all in supportive.
Okay.
Right. Let's go. Like that was the path that I found that I wanted to go down. So I will not hold anybody back.
Any part of you when that happens, if they're not ready? Some like me, I'm in the sports world, so I think of this as like a coach's like. We were talking about the NBA draft off air before we hit record. Is there any part of you, if somebody's not ready, you feel obligated to let them know that?
100%.
Like, okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm responsible for their career, right?
And we all know somebody that is way overzealous and maybe makes decisions before they're ready. So
those conversations could be harder than, but I think for me, like, it's my responsibility. If you want to get to agency, I want to put you in front of the right people to help you get there. I want to put you in the right path to get there, and then me to hold you accountable to make sure you're ready for it, right?
who were some people in your life? Because it feels like every time we turn on this microphone, somebody's telling a story about somebody that helped them get there, get to where they were. Who were those people for you that helped you when you decided to spin off? And maybe it's as simple as it was just you, but I mean, is there anybody that was a mentor for you or said, hey, why don't you try this on your own, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera?
I mean, the first person, my wife.
Sure.
Right.
And her name is?
Stacy.
Shout out to Stacy.
Shout out Stacy. Yeah. My wife. I mean,
Yeah.
she was supportive through the first 2 years. I mean, like I said before, it's hard. It's a grind. So I didn't pay myself for 2 years, right? So like my wife was able to help support our family. So I mean, that was massive.
Difficult for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of those things like check your ego, right? Like if you want to get into business, like lose your ego.
Yeah.
Like you have to.
You
have to,
Yeah.
right? But she was super supportive. And she kind of helped influence me to kind of get out of the automotive world. I just wasn't happy. Right?
What were you doing in automotive?
So I was managing some like shops.
Okay.
I was an automotive
Mechanic shops.
Okay. Yep. So did that. I managed them. I worked there for a total of 8 years. Managed those for the last 4.
Sure.
And I just wasn't happy, right?
Yeah.
And she could tell. And then once I made the switch, she was like, "Yeah, I mean, go for it, right?" And then like my family, right?
Sure.
So I think the people you don't really know is your family and your wife.
We're catching up with Doug Bosse of State Farm Insurance here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing. The hurdles facing the insurance industry, the industry, there's a ton of them, right? When we're talking about what's happening in Texas and California and Florida, and we're seeing people stop writing new business. What are in your mind? What are some of the biggest hurdles facing the industry today?
Storms.
Yeah.
Like storms, rates are changing. I mean, it's obvious, right? Homeowners rates are changing. They have to change, right? It's just weather, right? The weather is so unpredictable, and living in the state of Nebraska, where we've already talked a little bit about just the amount of storms we had in the last 2 or 3 months.
Sure.
Right? I would say that's the hardest thing going on right now. It's just helping. Again, it all boils down to how we onboarded the conversation, help the client at the beginning of the conversation of what it actually means, what you have, and just slowing that down. When those rates do come, is to reach out, be proactive, and then really explain the reasons why.
If that's the negative side of things, if that's what's the problems facing the industry, what's some of the positives? What are the positive sides of insurance right now?
Yeah, I mean, the opportunities are endless, right? I mean, we can't focus on the negatives. We can only focus on what we can control, right? I can't control weather. I can't control rate. We can control how many people we can reach out to. So I don't get centralized. I don't get focused on what I cannot control, right? If it's going to happen, it's going to happen regardless. So we need to focus on what we can control and what we can do moving forward. And the opportunity, I mean, there's people moving into the state left and right.
Yeah.
The population of Omaha is massive, right? So I think the positive is like the market for State Farm has never been better, right? We're in a really good market. We're in a very, very, very good price point compared to others. So that's, you just can't focus on the negative. We've talked no reason for that.
We've talked to a ton of contractors, and maybe this isn't a thing in the insurance world. Maybe it is, but how much is there ever a busy time versus a slow time in insurance? Is that a thing? Like, is there a time of year? Is there a time of year where hey, we're going to be writing X number of policies versus hey, we know we're probably going to be a little bit slower this month?
So we've been fortunate enough to be really consistent on our production, month in and month out. But there are months that we have to put in a little more effort. Holiday season, right?
Sure.
People are out traveling. Kids go back to school. Like families are focused on other things that don't want to talk to us right now, right? So holidays, again, people are out. They're traveling. They're going to see family. They're spending money on Christmas presents.
Right.
Like that time of year usually gets a little slower. And then kind of like school time, people going back to school.
If somebody is deciding maybe they bought a new home, maybe they bought a new car, they're considering becoming or buying a higher level of insurance. Sure. What do those conversations sound like if somebody's walking into your office? Maybe they're a 16-year-old buying a car for the first time. Maybe they're a 40-year-old buying a home for the first time. If somebody's walking in for the first time and they don't know exactly what type of insurance they need, what do those conversations sound like?
Yeah, I mean, before we even talk about insurance products, we're just talking about who you are as a person, right? We want to get to know your family. We want to get to know what you do for a living, like your things you like to do for fun. So we're building the relationship before we even start talking insurance, right? And then once that comes, we're very big on establishing liability, right? Because that's the quickest thing that can really derail somebody's lifestyle path to retirement. It's just not being covered liability correctly, right? So then it really boils down to having that basis of a conversation of like, hey, what do you got going on? What are your dreams? What are your goals? What do you want to get to? Okay, and then here is how you're currently set up with your current provider compared to where we want to go. right? And then it just boils down to the education. Explain to them what's at risk, how this could help the family, how could this hurt their family, right? But first 10 minutes, we're not even talking insurance, right? Excuse me. We're just talking about who you are, what you like to do. Tell me about your family. If you just moved from another state to Nebraska, why, what brought you here? Just to get to know who they are, right?
You've kind of brought it up a couple of times during this podcast, but if for anybody that owns a business, separating personal life from business is a little difficult. If you're a husband, a father, an insurance agent, you own your own business, you're out there having to do charity outings, which we're about to get to. How do you separate all of that and continue to be a good dad, be a good husband, be a good business owner, be a good boss? How do you do that?
I mean, you have to be. I feel you have to be 100% present in where you're at, right?
Okay.
So when I'm at work, we're on, let's go. But like I'm big with family. Like I have to spend time with my family. That's the purpose, right? The purpose of what I do is for my family. Right. So when I'm off work on the weekends, like I'm always available, right? If something happens, a client needs help, you can reach me 100%. But I'm all in. I'm focused with what we're doing with my kids. My son's in baseball right now. It's great.
Yeah.
I help coach it. It's just a ton of fun to see. He's 5. It's just a ton of fun to see him grow. Awesome group of kids within what he does with his team. So I think you just got to be 100%. You got to be where your feet are. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So at work, I'm locked in. I'm at work. Right. Outside of work hours, I'm with my family or whatever we're doing. I mean, that's where I'm focused.
And I'll say, even when you are with your family, you've always answered my text message and phone call, so I do appreciate that.
Buddy.
We're kind of hitting that mark where we cut things off. Is there anything about Doug Bosse State Farm Insurance that we haven't mentioned that people should know if they're looking at changing or adding insurance right now?
Yeah, just take the time to like figure out how your insurance is set up for you, right? I always say it's not the time to learn about how your policies are set up is when you're in a claim. That's not the time to learn. So whether with us or with another vendor or client or another company, like just ask, like, hey, how am I going to be taken care of if I had to file a claim, right? That's just a big thing. Just ask for education. That's kind of where I want to leave it.
We do have to mention you guys have a big charity golf outing in July on the 27th out in Ashland. Can you kind of talk about what that is and who that's going to benefit?
Yeah, so every year, this will be our 4th year doing it. We like to do kind of just like a customer appreciation golf outing, and then we raise funds for nonprofits, right? So this year is for Outlook Enrichment. They're more focused on the visually impaired.
Okay.
But able to meet a really good person. She's the director there.
And the name of the charity one more time is what?
Outlook Enrichment.
Outlook Enrichment, okay.
Yeah. So again, they help advocate for the visually impaired.
Who were the previous beneficiaries?
First year we did, so we like to pick a nonprofit, different one every single year, right? So the first one we did was suicide prevention.
Okay.
It was first suicide prevention. I think it was the Kelly Foundation.
Okay.
Second one was ENOA. The biggest thing to do, we think it would be like Meals on Wheels.
Sure. Okay.
And then last year was Project Intentional.
Very cool. Okay.
Yep. So then this year we're looking at Outlook.
Well, hey, and where can people go to register for the golf outing?
So golf outing is actually full.
Oh,
right?
okay. Well,
So
never mind.
We're full, but
if they'd like to make a donation,
make a donation. Just reach out to our office, give us a call. You can email myself. But then afterwards, we're also doing something a little different. It's out at Country Drive in Ashland. We're bringing out a local talent, country music band, to come out to play, to perform, and that's for anybody and everybody. Like just because you're golfing doesn't mean you're the only ones that can come. It's more of a customer appreciation. Say hi, and it's free.
any reason Ashland?
So that golf course is cool, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just a
That's
cool golf
what I
course,
assumed the answer was,
right?
but I didn't know if there was a local.
And they have a setup for bands, right?
Okay.
So they have the venue, they have the setup. It's a cover.
Yeah, I don't know how many other golf courses have a band stage. That's a good
That
point.
was the hard part for me to find a course, right? Is who can do it on a Saturday? Because a lot of people that come golf in our tournament, they work the normal 9 to 5. They can't get off on a Thursday, right? So we had to basically make it possible for everybody that we wanted to be there. And then, like I said, they're set up for the golf tournament. They're set up for the band. And that's for anybody. Like I said, everybody can come out to that. That's just not for people golfing or my clients. It's whoever wants to come out and enjoy local music.
That's Doug Bosse with Doug Bosse State Farm Insurance Agents. 155 5-star Google reviews. You can give them a call today at 402-333-1211 if you need an insurance need or maybe you just have questions and want to become educated about your insurance need. Doug, thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Good luck at the golf outing. Hopefully you improve your handicap.
Hopefully we see you there.
We will be back on Monday catching up with, speaking of nonprofits, we're talking to the folks from Chariots for Hope about how you can donate a vehicle to help a homeless person or somebody in need. On Monday, we'll be back at 11 here on the Spotlight Omaha podcast, brought to you by Pixel Fire Marketing.